and welcome to this edition of the Island Stats Sports Show. I'm your host, Earl Baston. Joining me is my co-host, Jason Juggling J. Ford. This evening, we are joined by two of the three Bascome brothers, in David Bascome and Herbie Bascome. We're hoping that Andrew will join us. Andrew has been coaching an under 15 semifinal this evening, and hopefully he quickly joins us to get on here. But Jason, this evening we get to hear the story of Bascome football, cricket, national team, professional, the whole gamut. What are you hoping to hear tonight? You gotta unmute yourself, boss.
It's JC's first time.
Good.
Why did you mute me, Earl?
I didn't mute you. You muted yourself.
Anyway, welcome, guys. Welcome once again. Welcome. Tonight is historic for me because these are questions. There's a lot of questions I want to ask these Bascome siblings. Not just the early years, but also the professional side of it. Because to know that three brothers have come from where they've come from, and we've heard many stories from David's documentary, and growing up, going Delwood and playing, at Bernard Park and these places, and seeing where these guys have reached now to higher professional levels, whether it's coaching, whether it's playing. It's a lot in between. I want to ask some of the questions in between.
So let me start off right now. Herbie, Arsenal fan, big Arsenal fan. Probably there with the Premier Division. Don't know your head, kid. You'll be all right. But Herbie, growing up playing football, you went to Robert Crawford. Having this persona about yourself, how did you manage that football life growing up? I mean, even as a youngster.
Well, it started off the upbringing was a little challenging, so coming up in the home was a little difficult. So we find that the safest place to be was on the pitch. So finding sports was a good avenue to find myself and get me more involved with what society had to offer. So, and living outside of the game was a little challenging because people back then didn't really take the kids that was brought up in our hand. So the only thing that we could do to make us feel a part was to play the game at the highest level, and that's where it all started.
Sure, and I'm going to quickly jump to David because David would have been the youngest of you guys. David, you hear Herbie talking. Did you feel the same challenges?
It was a little different. My challenge was having, my older brothers and watching them, being excellent with what they're doing, right? And my challenge was, man, I want to do the same thing. I had to work a lot harder. Herbie, this guy's a natural talent, and you're talking about compete. There's so much that was going on, and it was kind of like really trying to get that drive. So I was so young when I went into the home, didn't stay, as long, but my challenge was there. My challenge was actually like seeing them in front and everything that they was modeling, making sure that I live up to that standard.
Herbie, you knew David had challenges, and when I say challenges, that's speech impediment. But football was one of the things that he excelled in. How much of, as a brother, you talk to him about expressing himself on the field that people wouldn't even look at that speech impediment?
But the most important thing we guys did, David, was to conduct yourself off the field and carry yourself as a person to the highest level, so that way the habits will just get picked up automatically into the game. So, day-to-day living, doing what you need to do, what was necessary, school, around the house, respecting your elders, then the habits was natural. But when David came to playing football, we made it difficult for him because when we always played, we never gave him the opportunity to say, oh, we're going to give you an opportunity to have the ball. You're not going to have to do that. You're going to have to work hard every day. So it's a lot of times you went down there. I used to go on the park with him, show him a few things, and I'll just leave. Then I'll come back, see how they're making up.
Guys were rough, our own daddy, you didn't.
But Juggler, let me just say, it is unique to have three brothers as talented as they were trying to share one ball. Because when you start talking about a game, you might be in the same team, but there's only one ball, boys. Who's in charge? You have the youngster who wants to be flashy. You have the middle one who's he's got this level head, and the other one, the oldest, is a leader and wants to dominate. Boss, how do you manage all of that, Juggler?
I like how they manage outside of football, because I'm pretty sure it's just a competitive outside of football, right? I say that we say it jokingly, and I, growing up, admiring the dynamics of these siblings is, I know Herbie, I think we've had a few conversations just talking about his coaching style, just him coaching with cricket, the very holistic way of coaching, right? David, same thing. Andrew, same thing, right? We learned the basics from, obviously, our early teachings, but all three of them have a lot of things in common. That's the person, knowing the player. And you can see that just listen to Herbie now. This was instilled in these guys when they're young. Learn more about the person himself. If you take care of the person himself, all those other things will come into play. Tell me, guys, with your upbringing, and I'm just going to go, we barely watched big league soccer back then because we only came take delay and once a week. But who were some of the influences in football when you guys were growing up outside of North Village?
But I'm gonna be honest with you. Back then, me and Goda, we used to watch our brothers. Like, I'm being honest with you. There was no and I'm being honest, because back then was when you had the Hotspurs. Forrest was coming to Bermuda, so there was a different culture then. And I looked at like the villages and watching my brothers. I'm gonna let you know. I mean, like, I lean on Herbie a lot. It was one time I was trying to get back in the national team, and because I know what it looks like, and he came up to Harrisburg and helped me grind because I know what it looks like, because the culture and climate that he built, for himself and even Andrew, right? Like, that was something I needed. But back then it was I saw entertainers. Like, I saw like the national team. I mean, my brother, Herbie, when I tell you natural talent, I mean, when we play for Boulevard, and like, I'm just saying these things, even now, I coming back, from Masters games, and he still roughs me up. I get no breaks. And all it's got to do is say, you coming back. I come back, and it's that same behavior. He gets a ball, and I'm on my horse. Even at 50, I'm good. But I know what's going to happen, right? It's that talent, that respect. But what happened back in the day, there was no, there was so many good players, even in the, outside of Bermuda. But I was so fond of our own players in Bermuda. I mean, there was entertaining. I mean, we used to do shine guys' boots, cleaning cleats on Sundays, getting my cheeseburgers with the works, and watching my brothers play and sitting at the end. That was a big thing. So, like, I'm going to be honest, it was there, it was the North Village, and even going to other teams, watching other players play, that's what it was. If I was to be honest with you, don't really love the outside players, but it was what was in Bermuda at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Herbie, you have an answer to what Jugglers asked?
Yeah, my biggest influence was North Village played a big part of our life when we came up, and the first thing I searched for when I played for Village was that family atmosphere, and I must commend the Deal family because they really shared what family was about when it came around to structuring football, because they're very talented. So I just felt getting close to them would make it easy for me to emulate things for David, for Gooder, and for any other of my siblings, any one of my cousins that wanted to play the game at the highest level. But I think what it was for us was like that, being in him was very challenging at the time. People didn't really take to the kids, so you go around to different families, they don't want nothing to do with the kids that came to him. So we always found like being on the field was the safest place to be. Everybody on the same playing ground, but we always made sure we was on the same team because we wanted to dominate. So once we dominate, we was able to get the accolades of sharing a little watermelon or a little something because things was a little rough, you know.
You used stacking
But
it back from a young age, Herbie?
yeah, I had to around man, because you know when you come up and you ain't got nothing, you gotta use your talent, you know. But I must commend the deals. The deals shared a strong, they had a strong part of my influence when it came around to family and sports.
Sure.
Because it was
So,
unbelievable watching these guys perform and getting along so well, and even up to today, you
right.
still see them all together and watching football. And
Yes, yes.
I just trust that the village players down there could watch these guys and see these guys and respect them just to see them come watch and play, because
So,
that was important to us.
so Herbie, let me ask you because you've actually led into another question. Seeing that from a youngster of what the deals were doing and what you were going through, how much did you want to be involved in the, I guess, the bonding side? Because you would have seen the deals family as a bonding thing, and what you were going through, as you know, as you've already indicated, you know, a lot of people didn't respect that type of that way of living at the time. But getting under that North Village umbrella, how much was that of an influence on you to make sure that, you know, you got yourself into it and then you was able to bring your younger brother into it?
I think what it was that, see, the deals family never made the guys feel like what we is different.
Mm,
They just accepted us as their sons. You know what I mean? So they never really made the guys feel uncomfortable. So that was pretty much the safest place to be. And that was easy for me to try to get David and good around these guys because there's a big influence.
mm,
You know, to go to a place where you're not getting reminded about, you know, where you come from, what you done here, what you have, was easy for we guys to manage, you know.
mm, mm. And David, as a youngster, you hear your older brother talking. How much of, you know, you always look for a hand up. And when I say hand up, I mean your brother always reaches back to pull you through. How much of that were you relying on from your older brothers to ensure that, you know, you had a path, but you still had to work at it because they already told you we're not going to make life easy for you.
It was such a natural behavior, you know, from my brothers on the way they carried themselves, and it was amazing because we all became independent from such a young age. And what they done really well was, you know, I was just behind them, and there's just you know, laying the, you know, cutting through the bushes, right, and you know, really kind of laying out the, you know, that pathway. And there were times when I strayed off, not thinking I can do it on my own, but just slowed up and got lost. And that's when I started falling behind. I realized that I didn't have this natural ability. I had to work. Just from, you know, like Herbie said, you show me something, okay, it's on you now, right? You have to take the responsibility. You have to now move it. You have to navigate through it. And it wasn't like I was left alone. It was a part of the norm that you have to do this because nobody's going to do it for you, right? I'm not going to do it. If I got to remind you to be better, that's going to be a problem. And they never enabled it, but they empowered it by as soon as I thought I got something, even as simple as I was juggling outside, 10 juggles. Like, you know, I'm like, okay, cool, I got it. As soon as I come, okay, now they're juggling to 50. And they just lead the ball. But I didn't want to do it. Like, I was always trying to hide and try, okay, I got to keep doing this. And as soon as I got to a level, the bar kept going higher and higher. And that's why I appreciate it. Like, they didn't stay. It was always like, it was so far ahead that I had to really kind of drive, and it really empowered me. So I mean, that was a lot. I mean, the culture and the climate that my brothers created, and Herbie, you know, Herbie, every time I look, and Danny stopped with the cricket, and I didn't realize. I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't realize Herbie played. I didn't realize he played cricket. I thought I was a good cricketer. I thought I was. But I didn't realize. Like I said, I can't. But Herbie will come down through the alley, bowl a couple of balls, then he gone. Right? It's like, let me show you guys how to play. Get us out and move. Just move. And I thought, yeah, okay, I'm gonna fix this. But I never really got into it, and I didn't realize the talent. But also, I can tell you is that always coaching. always coaching. Oh, I'm gonna tell you, I got some licks. I would say I got some licks. Summertime, when you're the youngest, I had to fend everybody else at the youngest. So when they're falling asleep, I got to make sure everybody's cool. But it was just so like, it wasn't like God. It was everything was about respect. I really respected my brothers and really appreciated. But the one thing I learned is that you want something, you got to go get it. Sure. They wasn't giving us nothing.
Sure. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, Juggler, I want you to get on to David and Herbie about their time at the Red Devils. Not the Rams, the Red Devils. We'll be right back.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this? John Barrett & Son is bringing us something fresh and exciting for the new year. Bai Antioxidant Infusion Beverage. Bai delivers the natural antioxidant benefits of the coffee fruit in glorious combination with a variety of exotic fruit flavors, with only 1 gram of sugar and 10 calories per bottle. The folks at Bai are inviting us on a world tour through these amazing flavors. Brasilia blueberry, Zambia Bing cherry, Costa Rica clementine, Malawi mango, Panama peach, Ipanema pomegranate, Kupang strawberry kiwi, and more. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends. And that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
And welcome back. Juggler?
Yeah, so before I get into the North Village question, Earl, I just want to, since we have the siblings on there, the siblings, there's love. The rivalry, and a lot of times we've heard from David and coming up, but a lot of unconditional love. But question for David and Herbie. David, when was your fondest memory or earliest memory when you was proud of something that Herbie had done? And vice versa, Herbie, what was the moment that you say, that's my brother? You was proud to, whether it was on the field or off the field. What was that moment for each one of you guys?
Well, first of all, I'm old,
What is trying to say is he can't remember. But you know what?
No.
I
was stopping. Yeah, I can tell you is that one of the moments, and I'm going to be honest with you, is that when really, because North Village, it was so many, and I'm going to tell you when it was a game that Herbie was playing with North Village. Me and Godo was watching, and just the like when Herbie, his on the field playing down the back, and it was this whole because every pass that a player made back in the day was like completing this bond, right? It was so, North Village was just, and I'm watching my brother hit these 40 yards, right? Pass, and I didn't really, watching Herbie was young, but watching him with the premier team, right? The first division team at the time. And because I always saw Andrew, right? Andrew was always playing. Herbie had so much talent and he was bouncing between cricket, football. But I just remember, like, I was counting the passes on how many long balls, and that's like, and it dropping balls to guys' feet. And I'm like, okay, that's one. This is me now. Jay, this is me. It is two. And I'm so excited because when, like, the North Village and the Summers are playing against these foreign teams coming in, I'm like, hold up. Like, you know, like, this is a 40-yard pass is dropping on I said, and then this is me. Let me tell you how excited and happy I was. I want to be on the receiving end. Because and here's the reason. I said, no, we can bypass the whole midfield to get the ball to me. And then I could try score. I just got to work on finishing the ball, right? So it was, and it was against PhD. And I just remember sitting on the sideline watching the game, and it was just it was a beautiful art, right? And I couldn't tell you the result, but I remember sitting there with good. I'm like, wow, that's another one. I said, Herbie's knocking these balls. That's another one. And you didn't very, like, it wasn't, Herbie wasn't dribbling by. He got no time for that, but he just had to create enough space to get these balls, as we say today, through the lines, And that's what I was impressed with. So, you know what? One of my biggest thing, I was not a real big passer as far as over distance. So it forced me to learn how to do a simple chip. And from that time, it really drove me, but it was the art of it. It was clean, it was smooth. And I was like, so that really kind of got me going. And that's what it really realized to me, that I had to now, put some more tools to my game, because I was hitting no 40-yard passes. No. I just want to be receiving there with my brother knocking one in.
Let me just say, Jug, because one thing Herbie was known for was the deft touch of a pass. He had the deft touch of a 30-yard pass, a 40-yard pass, a through ball over the top, and all that. Herbie, what was some of the things you worked on personally to ensure you had all that in your closet?
I don't know, it seemed like I had this natural ability to be able to just pick up and just do things naturally. I mean, we guys are good on the field. We'll set a little barrel up in the middle of the field, and I just try to hit it. Sometimes we'll just hit it. I had that natural ability to just pick out. But the thing what I learned most of encouraged my passing was learning the behaviors of what other players like. Like, I used to talk to Payback and some of these guys when I went up to Boulevard, Charlie, Emery, when it's down. I used to ask them, I said, what you guys like? You like to go in front of you? Like to go take it out of the air? Like it to your feet? So once I adopt that and learn that from each player, then I just fix my game. Because I believe if I make my game that good, I can make that game easier. Then I could take the weight of all of it. So that was natural for me. I always try to learn my players that I played with. That then once I learned that, what made it easy for me to use my talent the way I wanted. Because I never really ran all over the place. I just figured the ball's wrong. Let's make sense of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? You got 11 players trying to cover 100 yards. Why I need to run all the plays, man? I could develop the skill of passing. If I could develop the skill of passing and put the ball wherever you want it, you're gonna accompany any pass I give you. It's gonna make it easier for me. That's why I benefit of, and that's the joy I got of passing the ball. I love playing my players. I respect humanity. I love people.
Right.
Even though my upbringing was a little rough, but that's life sometimes. You know what I mean? But I grew to love people and love playing sports. So
sure,
that part of giving was a natural part of my personal life. So to give a pass was better than scoring a goal.
Right. So Herbie, let me ask you. David joins you in the North Village team. And of course, David comes in with all this abundance of tricks. Him and Sean, they want to have fun. They want to showboat. They want to do all of this. However, you're in a first division at the time. It was called first division of guys that didn't respect North Village. They wanted to beat North Village. As a big brother, what was some of the advice you was trying to give David? Because I always go back to this here, Juggler. Never forget. Never, ever forget. It was North Village playing Devonshire Colts out Devonshire Rack one night.
That's when he picked the ball up on his neck, eh?
On his neck and walked through two players. and you ran up to him and you had choice words for him because you knew if he ever done that again, those same two players would have put him.
Yeah, they'd have burned him.
But it was because he done it, they were so shocked. They let him walk through, like literally, he picked the ball up, put it on his neck, walked through the two players, and then put the ball down and play it. But they were so shocked that he done it. But I said, when I saw you run up to him afterwards, I said, Herbert's telling him that if he is to ever do that again, he probably won't play this sport anymore.
See, what I used to tell David is that once you express your talent, you got to leave it on your pitch.
Right.
You got to be smart. You got to be wise. You got to choose when to do it. When he did that to me, it didn't make no sense.
Right.
It didn't make no sense. Yes, he shared off a little bit, caught the ball in his neck, but my concern was that guys would have burnt him. Because he didn't have to do it. All he had to do was just go cross him and put the ball in the back of the net. But being out there whacking it down, about
3,000 people out there.
But the most important for Dave was try to encourage him to express himself, man, and be confident in anything you do.
Yeah.
Don't take nothing off the pitch. Leave it away. Leave everything on the pitch.
Right.
That's what we was taught, and that's what we watch.
Yeah. But Herbie, I still remember because you was playing sweeper that day.
Yeah.
You literally ran up to David and grabbed him.
Just get towards the wall.
Yeah. Grabbed him.
He done it right in front of the club.
Yeah.
Listen,
I couldn't believe he did it. I couldn't hear that in my face.
Bro, first of all, ask my brother where I got it from. Got it from him. Do you know how much licks we got? Herbie flicked the ball up, Andrew flicked the ball up on that neck, and I'm like, hold up. I'm gonna learn this. So
but they showed you that, David, around the yard. Not in the game.
They entertain.
I mean, when you watch guys like Punchy Dio, Parks, and Cal, these guys,
right?
I mean, I don't knock David for doing what he done,
right?
But me coming up was watching Joe Trotter how he played, man, he was brilliant, man. And that's the game I liked. I like that little smooth game, Joe come off, he ain't sweating. That's what I like. That was my game.
And believe it or not, when you were playing sweeper for North Village, you were smooth. You were what they call smooth operator. You commanded.
See, the key was communicating, talking, staying organized, and that's the only way my game got easy.
Right.
And I try to encourage players now, like I watch a little bit of football and say, you guys gotta talk, you gotta communicate, but you gotta understand your teammate.
Right.
So that way there you could get the best out of them, and so they could trust you. You know what I mean?
Right. So David, let me ask you about you talk about where you learned some of your stuff from, or that particular move from. What's some of the other things that you picked up from Herbie that he was telling you to express yourself?
Yeah. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? Herbie and Andrew, different. Herbie, talking about the one thing I learned, and it more got to do with how Herbie carried himself through sports, and with so much natural talent and ability, was how to harness, but also don't take things for granted, right? There was, first of all, I didn't realize that my brother played cricket. No, I'm talking about didn't realize that he played cricket, like good at cricket. No, I'm being honest with you. Such a natural talent. And I'll tell you another proud moment and is when everything that my brothers did, and in this sense was Herbie, was leading, how to lead, right? But how to not just lead, but lead with a responsibility. Because when you're leading and you still got people following you, you're not just leading because they like you. You're leading because they showed you something, right? Your leadership has reproduced other leaders. And that was huge for me, even outside the field. Do you know that he didn't have to tell me much. He had to tell me once or show me something, because I had to watch. I had so much watching around the corner, watch him do things. And his ability, one of the biggest proudest moment when I realized cup match, I didn't realize how, and I'm like, hold up, my brother's making cup match. No, I'm telling you. I said, no, not as making cup. He's a captain. And I'm like, no, Earl. I was like dumbfounded because I'm up here and I'm like, hold up. How do I get these game? How do I get the game right? How do I get the game? I said, hold up, my brother. Hold up. My brother's captain of the cup match team. You know, and I'm like, and then, but here was the thing. I'm good. I'm watching this game, watching the journey, watching them like move and play us around, and I'm like wow, right? And I tell you, proud. Oh, I listen. I couldn't even tell you, but here's how proud I was, right? Watching the game, Herb is in charge now, and then I'm watching. I got people coming over. I remember Mitch Part is up here, right? Nobody come in. You must wear blue and blue. You must. And you're not eating. You're not eating, right? And
Yeah.
Come in.
There you go, Herbie.
Hey, I had people leaving. Like how proud I was. I had people leaving like work because through the day up here, all my players over and one watching like and I'm tuning in and but here's the thing, right? If anything was going wrong, they're like, what happened? I said, I have no idea. Something. I have no idea. And up until this day, nobody knows this. From that time to now, St. George's always won the cup. I'm letting you know. Like people don't need know it's another team. When they come here, I say, yeah, St. George's won a game. This year, won a game. St. George's has no more. And Harrisburg and Baltimore, since when my brother was a captain. I said, yeah, he's still captain. He's still in
until this day, we're still the champions. Don't tell Jason down the corner. Don't tell Jason down the corner.
Jason not anybody anyway.
The crazy part about that, Earl, right? And he didn't hit me up last year, but over the last 4 or 5 years, every cup match, I know I get a text throughout the day, either the first day or the second day. Normally the first day, around the afternoon, and his old joyful. How's the boys? Shout out to everybody. Shout out to Bermuda. Da da da. The next day is, what are these guys doing? What am I watching? What's going wrong?
He didn't have to do it last year. He didn't have to do it last year. He was on the beach.
I didn't hear from him last year at all.
He was on the beach.
No,
he was on the beach.
Well, here's the thing, and I am listen, when I found out my brother's not really involved much. So, disconnect. I'm telling you, I'm not lying to you. I'm lying. I'm going to the beach. I like the beach. I'm going to the beach. I'm going to hang out at the beach.
Man had sand in his tears.
I mean, every time I put the game on, right, I'm checking. I said, listen, I'm bad, and I don't like losing. I see these scores, and Apple is like, all the gas. I got people going down to the beach like, hey, what's this score? I said, listen, I think it's rained out. And I got them wearing blue, everything, I tell you everything. Like, okay, where's the party? Where's the drinks? Yeah. But now that's one of the things is that I didn't really realize until I said, I don't remember her be training for cricket. And that's the other thing. Like, I'm going to let you know. Listen, I'm going to let you know how talented my brother was.
Natural talent, boss.
And Andrew crafted Herbie. Natural talent. Herbie, listen, I remember, right? Village. And I said, good. I said, is Herbie going to come training this week? So well done. They're working hard. This is like, because training was the thing, right? You didn't train. You not playing, right? And I'm like, I said, good. I don't think Herb is. So are we gonna watch him play? Are we gonna? I said, I don't know. He hasn't been training. Herbie gonna train Thursday, Friday, game Sunday. Now, I said, no way, Herbie in the lineup. Herbie in the lineup. Herbie on that. But not only that.
I'm gonna be honest with you. My career as an athlete wasn't. I wouldn't say I was the perfect mold for any kid to emulate when it came around to my commitment to the game, because I just felt that natural talent made me a little lenient, like, you know what I mean? It made me it made me kind of lazy because I naturally could do it.
Right.
Like, even, when I was playing football, man, I naturally could play. So training wasn't really one of my fortes, you know what I mean? But I trained.
Right.
Yeah. But I wasn't the guy out front. I come train, I relax. But I always had that freedom because I felt that I had the ability to go ahead and play. But I always made myself the important player.
Right.
That's why, like Dave was saying, I'll come back and they'll play me. Because I made myself the important player. I made myself the guy that was going to help us win. Right. I'm giving you the pass that's going to win the game. Because at the end of the day, from the back, from wherever, If you don't have that pass, you don't be in.
And, bro, and it's not lying to you. Let me tell you how me and Andrew went for a run. So Andrew says we used to run, right? Friday nights.
I'm not running nowhere.
We used to run. So I'm like, listen,
I'm not running.
I'm actually about to cry in tears, right? But like, is Herbie gonna go with us?
No.
Herbie like,
I wasn't running nowhere, to be honest. I looked at that game, the ball was wrong. If you take 11 players and divide them up into 100-yard a football field, everybody has to manage 10 yards. So if I'm smart enough to engineer my game where I'm not running out of the place, like even when I play Donnie back, if I watch the game coming at me, then I could get in a position early enough where I'm not running on the play.
Yeah.
But if I don't, because you got to remember, see, when you're playing football, the game's 90 minutes, right? It's going to stay in play for 65 minutes. If you take 22 players and divide it up into 65, everybody gets 3 minutes.
Right.
So the 87 minutes is about thinking.
Yeah.
So if I focus on that 87 minutes, and if the talent I'm got, I shouldn't struggle in 3 minutes. If you understand what I'm saying. But see, what players do now, the players do now, they get fit to survive the physical aspect of the game. You get fit to engineer your thoughts within that 3 minutes. And you got to be wise enough to get in position so you're not physically drawing a lot out of your body. I scienced that out young. So I don't know why it is running, because it didn't make sense to me.
Hey, Earl, you see he looks like that?
Hey, let me just say, hey, one thing
I would never encourage kids not to go for the run and get fit.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But David, let me just say, when I first got to know who Herbie Bascome was, Jr., he was this mathematician. So what he's saying right now, I can understand what he's relaying to, because everybody said, hey, your boy's brilliant in math, but he could do all these figures and all these, he could think it out in his mind. So just hearing him talk about it as a youngster, you could almost, he had the dimensions of the field. He knew what areas he had to cover.
I met that out already. Because the game's designed in triangles, isn't it? It's designed in triangles.
Yeah.
I mean, once you understand that chemistry and you put your talent, and then you take your talents, how can I fit what I have to offer this game into the science of the game?
Right.
So I was able to map it up. Then you're watching guys like Joe Trot, Tal, and all these guys, Parks, and all these guys, Punchy.
Sure.
These guys are scientists, like Randy Bean, very talented.
Hey, and before that time too, isn't it?
Yeah, but we got the blessing of being able to play with him. I adopted to playing with him so easy because I didn't have to really do too much, you know.
Right. What we're gonna take another commercial break. When we come back, we're gonna talk about the move from the red and white to the red, gold, green, and black of the Boulevard Blazers. We'll be right back.
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends. And that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this?
Here's one of our favorite feature brands, true veterans of the food awareness movement. Bob's Red Mill, the U.S. leading miller of organic whole grain foods. Only whole grains have the entire value developed during growth. And once you try them, you know that this is the way food was intended to be. Try Bob's Red Mill blanched almond, whole wheat pastry, and artisan bread flours, and 1-to-1 gluten-free baking flour, unsweetened shredded coconut, gluten-free homemade wonderful bread mix, and a variety of rolled oats. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
Well, David, let's talk a little bit about, and Herbert's rejoining us. Let's talk a little bit about the transition from North Village to actually, you know what? Let me start with Herbie. The transition from North Village to Boulevard. For you, Herbie, why was it significant for you to make that move?
Well, it all came about when Andrew had moved away from Village. And he got to get into coaching, and we wanted to support him in coaching. So it wasn't any right for us to go and follow our brother to make sure that he reaches where he wants to reach and support his philosophy. You know what I mean? I just thought we was the right tool for him to get what he wanted to get across on the Boulevard. And the Boulevard was, they was all close, we was all close. It was, nice teams, families similar to Village. The only thing with Boulevard is that we was the ones they had to look up to. Pretty much coming out of Village and being under the Joe Trots and all that, and being able to go to Boulevard and show somebody love and somebody knowledge and ability that we have. So when Andrew laid things down, we had to make sure we honor what Andrew wanted so the other players could follow, because Boulevard wasn't bad.
Right.
They had a lot of talent on there. I just think they just needed some guidance. But what we done was, that's when they had to train. Because you moved to another club. So now is that you're trying to show reflection of two players that you never played with.
Right.
So you want to make sure you pass the baton onto these guys the way you're supposed to. And Andrew was real good at it. So once we was able to come. But we struggled in the beginning playing for Boulevard, because when Andrew went and we came, Andrew didn't want to make him seem like as a brotherly love type of thing.
Right.
So even the first game Boulevard played was out anytime. She called us to the side and said, "Look, man, I can't play you guys today, man. I got to play with the Boulevard players." He don't want to make it feel like, my brothers are coming song and play them. So and I remember Mitchell Ellis, Wire came. Then time when I won nothing. And me and Dave was sitting on the bench, so I'm looking at Andrew saying, "Look, man, this thing about playing your brothers at Boulevard, I'm never gonna handle that whole season." Then Mitchell came and told him and said, "Hey, look, man, put your brothers on the field. Let's get them." We end up beating 2-1.
Right.
David and Payback scored. But there was the challenges in the beginning, but after that, we grew as a family, you know what I mean? And
Right.
Boulevard I think we won about 16, 17 trophies in 11 years.
In a short space of time. David, as a youngster, you're following your brothers. Here you have your brother as a coach, your another older brother as a player, but you're following into what I would consider the unknown, because you came up in a North Village family. I mean, the orientation of North Village, but then you're going to a Boulevard family. I mean, they had their way. I mean, how did you feel fitting into that mold?
It's at that same time, and Harvey's right. Andrew being, the leader, right, at the helm, want to do everything it takes to help him support that success. At the same time, I was transitioning and trying to go into that other lane of playing pro. Having some things set up to go train overseas, and then the transition was easy because I trust my brothers. It was easy. I just wanted to be a part with them. And me and Harvey, that first game, I used to that first, I'm sitting on, and I think I'm probably correct. I think that's the first game I ended up getting in an accident riding outside the gate and got struck. It's crazy how things happen. But when I was there and sitting on the bench, me and Herb was beside each other. I'm like, no, I was sitting on the bench. Now I'm you know, it was.
Yeah, I said, I'm never gonna take this. But you have to respect, you know, you got bigger
Yes.
down there. These guys was like,
Right.
they be respected bigger, you know what I mean? They
Yeah.
other guys, Donnie Hill and Digger and these guys had a lot
Right.
of influence.
The one thing I would say, Herbie knows, but for me, is still looking for that family bond, and you got it. Like Boulevard was a strong knitted. You know, I do this restorative circle now with my players, but Boulevard prayed after every game, like just really got connected, connected, and I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed that the conversations afterwards, the bonding afterwards. Like it was strong, and still being in that community was another thing. I used to go sneak over and watch like Kevin Smith when he was playing for Boulevard. Like I used to go sneak over there when he'd come back, and I tell you, I met, and this was really like going from the desert. It was Dale Russell. Dale Russell when he came back, and I just remember him walking into the gate, and I remember like guys saying that, oh yeah, that's one of our pros, and I was like wow, right? That, you know, I'm crossing the road and I get to, and I'm terrified to speak to him, terrified, didn't know what to, and I knew the impact of Dale when they mentioned his name here.
Right.
When I came to the indoor game, and they kept talking about Dale Russell, and I'm like, so it was amazing. But I tell you, the joy of playing with your siblings at a level and winning. Oh, you don't know. And I'll tell you, and Harvey will tell you, right? Harvey played me some balls. Was one time, right? I was told to payback, and I know that's the same year I also got injured. But I was happy those balls was coming over. I said, payback, listen, I think Herbie, why don't you go over? I think you got to slide to the left, right? I knew.
Because Herbie was picking them to you, see?
I said, he
dropped it selfish. Yeah, selfish guy.
I said, Herbie would drop it
but payback was brilliant too, man.
Payback, me and Payback had somebody, we had the time of our life, and we just loved the game. We just enjoyed the game. But when you had my brother bypassing midfielders, but now when Andrew was on now, yeah, the whole like we had, you know, Andrew's the boss. Like Andrew,
gotta play through. You gotta play through. You gotta play through. You gotta play through.
But it was just as it was a continued love for the game, the Boulevard players, love for each other, the community, the family, and yeah, it was just like they needed. And then we get a swarm of players start to come down. And I'm gonna tell you that it just became like we could walk on a field and you just had this joy. You really had this joy, and it was that. We continued to be entertainers. You know, didn't get a chance to stay as long because I ended up going overseas.
Hey, Jay, you were a goalkeeper, but Boulevard had the best nickname for a goalkeeper, Fumbly Mumbly. But they were league champions, FA Cup champions, Dudley Heath champions, Mortimer champions. What would you say about that? Come on.
Well, let me go back a little bit, Earl. I don't know if you know this, Earl. And I think David had gone off to school by then, had gone off. I played for Boulevard for a short stint.
Oh, I know you played with Boulevard. Yeah. Hey, Herbie, he couldn't move Fumbly.
To be honest with you, it was Butchie B at the time when I was there.
Yeah, Butchie, Butchie, yeah.
Butchie B was, and we was training. I was training with Butchie B on a nightly basis, so you can only imagine what training was like. But the late Dennis Warren, Payback's bro, man, him and Tito actually came, got me from Ronnie Carver and said, we need to go play for Boulevard. Well, a question for you guys, and I, you know, we accepted this when we played, obviously coming up. But obviously, Boulevard having a lot of players that came up through North Village, came up through Devonshire Cougars. But when they started playing for Boulevard, we got a lot of flack from home clubs as back then. How was you guys transition moving on to Boulevard? I'm pretty sure you guys took a lot of stick from the Village fans.
Let me just say, before you answer that, Herbie, ain't nobody can give you stick.
No,
but yeah, Herbie,
they might not do it to your face, but I'm pretty sure when the crowd somewhere they'll hide behind somebody else's back.
They could have done it behind his back, but they weren't doing it to his face.
Yeah, Boulevard was when I looked at Boulevard, when I went over to Boulevard, it was I love that community down the Boulevard when I came down there. And one of the reasons was that I don't think they got the respect they rightfully deserve in Islam Boulevard. Inner city kids just very talented. And they just want to be a part of just rising out of that and helping the players to just rise out of that and get the respect that they rightfully deserve. Now, when we all went on there into coaching, we had like 6 or 7 guys in the national program. I mean, who would have thought that Boulevard would have been having players that would represent the country, and then Albert Smith ended up captaining the country. But I understand what the gentleman saying, when we caught a lot of slack, because I recall one game Boulevard played North Village up at Somerset. And it wasn't the older players. The older players, they knew that once we got the baton on, that we was going to go surely love amongst the island. So moving out of what village was probably a little hurting, but they knew eventually we was going to just move on a little bit. But we played North Village, and the game was up Somerset. And the village fans was telling me, we don't need the bathrooms no more, and we don't need this no more. And I was coaching Boulevard. David was playing, but I had Andrew on the bench. And they was running on, and I was saying to myself, what could I do to just keep them quiet? Village went up 1-0. Second half of the game, second half came. Game started. I said, then it dawned on me, I'm going to insult Village right now. Something I don't want to do, but I'm going to insult the mentality. So I warmed up Andrew 15 minutes after the game. Once the second half started, I warmed him up. Game was getting pretty balanced. Brought Andrew on. Andrew slipped this thing to payback. I think David scored the equalizer. Payback scored the second one. I think Diamond scored the third one. Andrew set them all up. I brought Andrew. I said, call Andrew to the sidelines. Andrew, look, it's in about 10 minutes now. We'll go Village 3-1. They can't beat us. I'm going to do something. I don't need to get upset. I just need to relax. I said, I'm going to bring you off. And I'm going to just let the Village people know what they've been missing. So Andrew called Andrew off, and Andrew was on the field for 20 minutes, brought him on. And they never said nothing the whole game, never said nothing to us. But you just show them like that when you got this type of talent, you can harness whatever you want to do, you know what I mean? And I just felt that it wasn't my place to chastise them and say anything back to them. I just used our own talent to get back at them. I mean, if I'm Village and I'm watching this, you don't want me guys play, but I bring on Andrew, sets up 3 goals, then bring him on, we win the game. What that tells you? What you gonna say after that? You couldn't really say too much.
I'm glad you indicated that you then became the coach and Andrew became the player, because you guys transitioned from players to the coaching side of football. You went to Boulevard and Andrew was the coach. Now you became the coach and Andrew became the player. David was still a player, but transitioned into becoming a pro indoor and all that. But take us through that transition for you, hubby, from a player to the coaching aspect.
Well, I kind of wanted to use my philosophy of how I saw the game. I wanted to see if I could break it down to get players to understand that the game could be much easier if we occupy more thinking inside that 87 minutes. And I felt that was a good part of my game, and I wanted to be influential in passing that on. And that was the biggest encouragement, because I felt that some players dribbled in negative areas. They never kept the balance of the game. So I just thought, let me implement this. And that was the drive getting into coaching, to try to make the game that much easier for players.
And David, for you went from this amateur setup in Bermuda. You had this ambition of becoming a pro. You eventually became a pro in the indoor side of the game. But that transition of what you would have learned around your brothers, that skill, honing your skills and all, take us through that transition for you becoming a professional indoor, we'll call it soccer player, but a footballer, having come through all the ranks in Bermuda.
Yeah. Once my first year, and I really struggled playing the indoor game. I actually came to the U.S. when I left England. Came to the U.S. to actually play outdoor, and the reason why it couldn't happen actually was in Baltimore, the Baltimore base. They had a lot of the Jamaican national team players, But at the same time, my green card was not ready yet. That's how I ended up moving into the indoor, because by the time my visa came, it was around the same time the indoor was actually getting going. So that's when that's how I ended up from the outdoor to indoor. And but the transition with the indoor game was a lot different with walls. I mean, it really took me some time, and I was finding ways to have an excuse to give up and say this is not working because it's an indoor game. So that was the first a mental transition to accept that you're not really as good as you thought you was, no matter what. I don't know if it was beach football. I just thought that I'm just going to go in and it's going to work out for me. Didn't have a purpose. I just thought I'm just going to step on the field to be this awesome entertainer. And now you have to be accountable because you're getting paid. So that was the second transition. Then I realized is that I had to also have a business, and I also had to forecast. I had to study the game even more now. There's accountability. I said, man, I wanted to play pro to entertain, but then when you have a bad game, fans shouting at you. I said, hold on. There was a lot of transitions that I struggled with. And it took me a while, really took me a while to kind of get it going. And but I always remembered, I always went way back to when I was playing this game and the things like Herbie and Andrew was doing. And I said, hold up, I got to breathe now. This is not about, I really have to do some work here. So that was going into pro was a heavy transition. And I was really finding ways. That's like my back injury. I'm not going to play the game no more. I was going to go back to England. And it wasn't until, and I mentioned to you before, and Herbie knows him, is Mark Pulisic, Christian Pulisic's father, very close. And you got to keep playing. I just had to have a purpose. So I changed my number from 16 to number 40, kids' birthdays. I had to have a reason to play, getting me up. So no matter what the game was, I now had a purpose, and I really had an emotional reason to play this game. And I wanted to now be the best at the craft. Now I want to be the best. I want to be the best. So that transition came mentally and physically. So it wasn't easy.
Jay?
All right, guys. I'm pretty sure I knew half of this question already. Picture this. Backyard ball. Sticks aside. Who's your team?
We doing Clip and Cole. Are you looking at that lineup, JP?
Hold on.
Well, we ain't need two players because we had good.
I was going to say half I was already there, right?
Jay, are you saying Peaksville or Bernard Park? Because these boys had two different teams.
I'm gonna be honest with you. When we got down Peaksville, we just had to join the team. We're in a boat, us playing together, because there was a lot of talent down there. We just had to try to get on that pitch. But Donnie Park was like, we just need two players. It was us three. Then Gooder came. I think that was a little unfair.
You was on all day, innit?
Yeah, we was on all day. I used to leave and come back short. They're short. I'll leave, come back. Still winning.
Those were some games, but let me got to the point. So me and Gooder was like, because they if you had on a white t-shirt, right?
Right.
You play on the same team. So we wanted to make sure, because it became 5v5, 10v10, 20v20, right? But you knew if you had some ballers around you, go rest his soul, Shaggy Dog. Shaggy Dog was trying to clip balls over the top like Herbie. I said, Shaggy, you can knock a long ball, but he said, just go. But it was.
But whenever we played amongst ourselves, it was always me and Andrew against Team and Gooder. So they wasn't getting no breaks. It was never like me and David against Andrew. It was always me and Andrew against Andrew.
So who won? Who won the most?
Well, to be honest, if we dominated until they got a little older, like when they got a little older, I think them boys, I ain't playing against them anymore.
Oh, guys, you're looking for them. Hey, even up to go play pro, but I'm coming back down. Then we realized the way that he kicked on the box.
You guys ain't gonna play them no more. You guys learn.
But
it was nice.
But just I mean, realistically, talking about those days, like reliving those days of just being around your siblings, helping out someone like Sean and others. What does that warm your heart to know what these people have become in society today?
I mean, it's beautiful to know, man. When I see these guys out there doing what they gotta do, man, it's a beautiful feeling. What I really enjoy about it is that they're still willing to pass it on, pass on what they got. You know what I mean? And that's the joy I get. That's why I got into coaching, because I wanted to see every player try to get to that level.
Right.
Because I was the type of coach I want to win.
Right.
I tell my team, you'll be coached together. I tell you, Earl.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about hurting nobody's feelings.
Yeah.
I mean, and I got MVP on a Sunday against PAT in the FA Cup Finals. We drew the match, and Andrew set me bench on the Tuesday night. I got MVP Sunday, draw the game, and he sits me on the bench Tuesday for not wearing replay for not wearing hot stuff. I said, I'm not worrying about bringing a guy off or not picking him. That's not bothering me no more.
Hey, David, let me tell you. When Herbie said to me, "Look, won't you work with me, assistant and all that deal?" He said, "One thing, I don't care about guys' feelings. If he not doing his job in 10 minutes and 10 minutes of the first half, I'm taking him off." I was like, "You serious? 10 minutes of the game. You got 10 minutes to do what you got to do. If you ain't doing it, come off the field. Somebody else got to go on and do the job. Hey, 10 minutes to the game. Ref, sit."
I used to tell Earl, look, write this up. Earl said, "You're sure?" I said, "Well, I'll write it up. You ain't gonna write it up. I'm writing it up." I just felt like that the way I trained and I played wasn't a good example to players, but at the end of the day, I had a lot of talent. So I compromised with that and I was successful. But when I see players not being committed to their talent and they're not as talented, then I just feel I should be able to conduct what I want out of them. Like if you think you can't train, then I feel like I play you when I want.
Hey, your boy would take off the best striker. So you're not doing the job in 15 minutes, boys. You call yourself a good striker? 15 minutes, you ain't scored a goal, come off the field, mate. And then the real players win you the game.
Yeah. The best players don't always necessarily win you the game. They get the freedom from the real players.
Right.
So once you get the players to play a role, it allows the best players to free up. But without these real players, their best player is not going to get the freedom he wants. So there's nothing wrong bringing him off.
Right.
I bring him off quick. You know what I mean? I'm not worried about that part.
So David, let me ask you: we ever fearful of Andrew and or Herbie bringing you off early in a match?
Well, me and David had our challenges. We had our challenges. I tell him, if you keep doing what you're doing, I'm passing the ball. This is in FA Cup Finals or the league finals.
Yeah?
Yeah, tell him.
And don't let them play a ball. Let me tell you how hard Herbie. Listen, I had no breaks. I came back for a Masters game. I'm gonna tell you now, we're older, Earl.
Yeah, he actually he'll tell you.
Earl, and I'm because one thing is that like I love my brothers and I love the game. So he said, so I said, yeah, I'm gonna sign for the Masters, but I'm committed. First of all, I'm committed. But I didn't, I didn't realize how serious Masters were.
No, how serious Herbie took Masters.
That's right. I took it serious because we won 8 trophies.
Herbie took Masters.
No,
I want to.
Well, I'm talking about 2 things. Herbie says to me, yo, you come, it says, listen to me. Yeah? You got to do your job out there. So my brother I'm saying, I said, no, hold up. I know this is Masters. And I knew, the one thing is every time I came back and played for my brother,
right.
I'm going to tell you, in Masters, and people may not think this is, but I always knew, no matter what, you stood on the field, you must perform. You must get everything you got. And he's in Masters, Herbie's playing now. The worst is when, listen, to have him coach you, I can hide from. I'll go on the outside the field. And he just walk up and down. Listen, Earl, I missed this goal down St. George's. We were playing against somebody. He says, you serious? He's shouting out. You must want to come off. I said, hold up, I need pro. Like, I'm a former pro. I should be okay. He didn't pay no mind. Yeah. And I didn't say nothing to him. The worst is when he got on the field and playing. I'm like, oh, jeez. Because now he's knocking me balls, bro. He's knocking balls to me. Until that one, he got to tell me twice. Okay, bro. I come back and I just had those things. And I'm on a plane, right? I'm flying in. So I said, Herbie, I may not be able to make it. He said, don't worry. Don't worry. We hold the game. We find a way. He's committed to winning.
This game not starting right now.
Game not starting. I'm at the airport.
I know what it took, man.
Hey, Juggler, let me tell you. I was out Bernard Park on Sunday, right? And it was blowing a gale. Shannon Burgess said this, and I never forget it. He said, hey, I was playing for St. George's Masters. We was playing Somerset, up Somerset. The first half, we was going against the win. And Herbie said, just take your time. Don't race to get the ball. Delay the game. Waste time and all that. And the Somerset guys were asking, why are you guys wasting time? And St. George's was down 1-0. The second half, then they went in halftime. Herbie said, the first guy that crosses the halfway line with the ball at his feet and doesn't shoot, you're coming off the field.
Yeah, hey, Shannon picked this thing up, but if Shannon wouldn't have struck that thing back in the net, he is coming.
And that's what he said.
That's a great girl.
He said he got the ball from the halfway line and he struck her. He said the goalkeeper, Adrian Burris, was the goalkeeper. He said Adrian was moughing, but he ain't seen this thing yet.
Yeah, that's a great girl. That's a great girl. Shannon struck that girl. I mean, at the end of the day, man, you wanna get into your players here. Yes, we're all having fun, but you wanna win too. You know, you wanna. At the end of the day, the prize is winning, and that's what I try to encourage players nowadays, man. You know, you gotta look to win. You gotta look to be successful. Even when they got into cricket, even when you guys built that little team up to qualify to go to the bye,
right?
Preach to them the importance about understanding brotherly love, understanding one another, because that's the only way you're gonna be able to win. Because at the end of the day, people say to like winning is everything.
Yeah.
Coming second is the first loser,
yeah. You gotta come in. You know, I'm a zebra, but when I was a teenager, Herbie was a player. I used to want to play like. It hurts me to say that. I love how smooth and in control he played. Great player, I admire. And believe it or not, Herbie, a lot of people would have liked the way you strode around a park. I mean, like you said, you relied on a lot of your talent. Where David was a showman, Andrew was a showman. You just relied on that talent of being able to command the ball, control the ball, deliver the ball, you know, and I think that's where a lot of people kind of.
I believe in dissecting the situation. I mean, if you could dissect this thing to the finest point, man, what's the sense of doing other things? You got a defender defending an attacker on the wrong side.
Right.
Why am I knocking it in the midfield for? This is what you want. You knock it into the midfield to try to get defense to be disorganized. If I can identify from the back and knock this ball 80, 90 miles straight to the player, his goal got a breakaway. It makes it easy for us. We up 1-0. That makes it easy for me. I remember Carl Lightman one time on PAT told me we was at the halfway line. Everybody, I tell you, if I was at the end of the pass, I'll score about 50 goals that season. I was just laughing at myself. Well, I'm glad you ain't got nobody on PAC passing you, boy.
No.
Because Scott was brilliant. It was a girls' school. I mean,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
But at least from the back, PAC's thing was they play without a midfield. They play with the strikers, but most teams knocked the ball back into the midfield, and then they had the bars coming forward. So that's how they dominated for a little while. But with you guys playing in Village, and then eventually playing with Boulevard, you actually was able to break a team like PAC down because you. I mean, okay.
In all fairness, we struggled to break PAC down. In all fairness, PAC pretty much was dominating the guys early in our career at Boulevard.
Right.
But I remember one night, me and Andrew went watch PAC play Wolves up in Somerset. And we saying, why is PAC just slamming teams, man? Because we couldn't beat them. They're beating us 1-0 and beating us 2-1. Then Andrew came up with this idea of taking the halfway line and making an imaginary halfway line, bringing it back 10 yards, and bringing the keeper on top of the box. And our PAC had to pick the ball up in front of us.
Right.
So they couldn't drop it over the top because the keeper, and that's when our game started changing, where we started getting a little better out of PAC. But in all fairness, we really struggled against PAC in the beginning until Andrew came up with that philosophy of having an imaginary halfway line off the halfway line.
Right.
Like 10
sometimes,
yards.
I mean, that actually worked even in St. George, because I used to say, listen, there's no way we're going to beat these guys if we go to the halfway line. We're going to play half of our half and give the goalkeeper an opportunity to get the ball if they're going to knock it over the top. Because basically, these boys are too fast for us.
Yeah, they're too fast.
Yeah. What we're going to do, we're going to take another commercial break. When we come back, we'll talk more with with Herbie and David Bascome. We'll be right back.
It seems everyone knows someone who's lactose intolerant or just avoiding dairy products. Unfortunately, there's a growing array of delicious and nutritious alternatives. Pacific Natural Foods have been doing things their own way simply and sustainably for over a quarter century, making non-dairy beverages with the finest possible ingredients right down to the packaging. Try Pacific Natural Original and Vanilla Hemp Milk and Almond Original Plant-Based Beverage, all sweetened or unsweetened, and low-sodium organic vegetable or chicken broth. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends, and that's what I'm thankful for.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this?
Welcome back. Well, Herbie, I really want to ask this question about your transition from football into cricket. When you made the decision to make that transition, you were still coaching football at the time, but you got into cricket really, really seriously. What was the stuff behind you taking cricket that much more seriously as a sportsman?
It all started from when I had my first son, Arundi, and he took a liking to cricket, and I wanted to be the person I wanted to emulate. I wanted him to emulate me as a father. So I knew I had the ability to play cricket again. So I just decided that I wanted to get back into cricket. Then I started off playing at St. David's. Then once I started getting into it, and then with me having Randy with him and sharing him about the game, I just started to take it serious from there. So it was the greatest influence was having my first son. That's what started it off again.
Jay, you want to get into the cricket part?
Yeah, very much so. Obviously following Herbie and knowing that he's picking up a lot of these relationships, not just here locally, but also overseas. Name some of the relationships you've built through cricket. I mean, I know you've had a good relationship with Gail, and I know it was crazy because Earl and a good friend of mine, Cleveland, we guys had been in England one time. We went to the Newberry factory. Bed factory, right? And we got to see
his name on the wall. You see his name on the wall?
You see these bets, and we bet this water, we bet this water. Hold on. and Herbert's name comes up. I'm like, well, right on here.
Hey, it's called. Well, they call it the Newberry Factory, but they call it the Herbie Bascome Newberry Factory.
Like I said, I'm like, hold on, what right on here, middle of nowhere? Yeah, here's Gales, Bad Hits, and do that. Yeah, and Herbie's gonna pick up Herbie.
The Keeley family was good. I ended up getting real close to them, to the extended family of ours. And just through meeting them, you're able to meet a lot of great players. I mean, we've been friendly with Tenduka, Chris Gale, Marlon Samuels. Russell was very young when he came in. We watched Russell when he was like 17, 18 come through, and we're still close friends up to date. Rampakesh. We used to spend some time getting good in these guys. I've got a close relationship with a lot of these guys, like Jawadeen, Don, and Solanka. It's just through the journey. Sometimes you separate yourself. But me and Chris is more or less the closest now because he was pretty much supplying with his cricket bats. But just meeting the Katie family and being a part of the cricket and the drive that I had into cricket was a blessing to meet these quality of players.
So let me ask you. Jay.
What do you say now? Because I ended up seeing it, I want to say the night before. What do you say now to see a lot of these names you just called out playing this Legends League? I saw the other night on TV. What do you think of some of these guys still trying to get out there and entertain us?
Not called heavy. Not called heavy, but it's busy.
I think Gail gave me a shout about playing in the game in Florida, but I don't know if I could do that. These boys, I would like to play, but I don't know.
Stand and deliver, kids. Stand and deliver.
But it's nice to see these guys out there playing, especially for the younger players. You know, I mean, the world is surrounded by a lot of young talent, and that's what Bermuda misses. I think we need to copy what's going on in the world because I feel like that the younger players need to start respecting a lot of players that was before that time, like the Charlie Masters, PVV. It's just unfortunate we guys don't have these things going on in Bermuda. But that's some of the things we need to tap into so the players can see the conduct of how these guys carried themselves and how the game was played. They might not be able to play it at a high pace and a fast pace, but just to see that these guys have some serious talent, because it would be nice to know that they could get the respect. I mean, I'm pretty sure they get the respect, but in the cricket fraternity, be looked at as highly respected athletes in this country. And I think that's what we need, you know, because back in the day, you didn't really have to encourage us to play.
Right.
Life was different, finance was different, but in these times right here, you know, these things change. And I just think the country needs to get more interested in our athletes. I don't think they're as serious as they should be. Maybe they're still expecting us or these young guys to play like how we was and the Charles was, but life was easier. Today, the finance, you know what I mean? They're asking players to come and support a club as an amateur, giving you free time. And they're not, I won't say they're just asking for the greatest benefits of finance, but even an infrastructure where they could go ahead and get better. I mean, the games revolved around finance. I mean, sports is the biggest market in the world. There's no recession in sports. I mean, you could look around the world, it's a recession, but they're still selling players for 100 million, 200 million.
Yeah.
But I just think we need to tap into the seriousness. Are we really interested in our young athletes? Me personally, I don't think it might be bold to say no, because I don't know what's going to come out of this, but I don't think the country's serious about our athletes. I don't really think that's
David, before I come to you about, you know, that transition from a professional player into the coaching aspect, Herbie, I want to ask you, you said you got into cricket, you got back into cricket because of Aronde. Did the ambitions of leading St. George's in cup match, when did that kind of come about? When did that aspiration come about?
I always wanted, when I first got into St. George's, I always wanted to highlight my kids at the podium of the greatest sport in the country. I mean, at the biggest match, that was cup match. And I made up my mind that the first time I become captain, I'm gonna walk my kids out there with me. And I just wanted them to show what it's like to be playing in front of people that could appreciate you because we're entertainers. You know what I mean? And that was the drive of me becoming. I just really wanted to be captain because I wanted to take my kids out there. And I dressed them up. They look just like blazer on, at the whites on.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, so that was one of the aspirations of me wanting to be captain for St. George's. Outside, I wanted to see them do extremely well, but the main thing, it was probably a little selfish, but I wanted to walk my kids out there so they could see. Because I tell them, one day you're going to play in front of these people. But you got to play with confidence, and then when you guys stand proud,
And David, the transition from a professional player, knowing eventually your career is going to come to an end. I mean, you look at your brother Herbie, even Andrew. I mean, they transitioned to become national coaches of our two national sports. What was that thought process for you as you made that transition to become first an assistant coach and now a head coach?
Herbie mentioned it earlier. That need to share. Yeah. I am sure my brother probably, really like my greatest value of my life is my legacy. This is what we leave behind, and that's important to me. It doesn't mean that I value anything else less, like my family. It's all a part of it. But sharing, giving back, we came up through a time, but we appreciated the little things that we had. And when you go through these experiences, you start to kind of grasp so much knowledge. Yeah. So it's that sharing and giving back. And that's what it was, is that the ability to kind of, wow, I got to play this game, and remembering that feeling, remember the culture you came through. And that was a part of my transition, is that now when I was assistant coach, sharing what got me. As a player, I built objectives that I had a natural ability from learning from Harvey and Andrew, right? So I built this, writing down objectives and goals for every game, meeting those goals, making myself accountable. The same thing I learned from my brothers. Make yourself accountable. Set the high standard. Being able to listen. So as a coach, as assistant coach, the first thing I said is that, okay, my job is to do what? Support the head coach and help us to win. The same thing we done as a player with Andrew, right? Help support, find out what you do well and perfect it. And what I did well in my post as assistant is understood the coaching climate that's needed for success. So I built some tools around it, giving back to young players, not just focusing on the game, but outside the game for success. A happy player outside the game is a happier player inside the game. If you can, and there was so much things that was taken on. Now transition to a head coach, it was a whole different ballgame. Now you're responsible for their lives, their livelihoods. They're getting paid. Being able to now build a culture for success, players to trust your methodology, to understand what you believe in, your philosophy, being able to build a structure to support that. I mean, you've been up here. This is work. And then at the end of the day, I had to break down my whole team and build something for success. This is an area that loves winning. Baltimore loves winning. This is no rebuilding because I'm now was a rookie coach. All what I done as assistant is different. Now you're taking control, and you have to set the timelines, objectives, and you must have outcomes, but you must show action. And then there's a transitional period of getting the players to now be responsible and understand and accept change. And let me tell you, in pros, when things are not going well,
that is a small margin. It's a small margin.
Jay, first 6 games, what did I tell you? First 6 games of my professional career, I said after 6 games, it will determine, and I will fire myself. You remember?
Yeah, I remember. I trust me, I remember.
And I told my players this, and these are the pros that's sitting up there like, no, coach, no. I said, no, you don't have 6 games. I give myself 6 games. Had nothing to do with the wins and the losses. It had to do with the ability to have 75% of my players transition into change and trust me my voice, the new voice. And in 6 games, I think we was 500. I wasn't worried with the results.
Douglas.
But to watch the shifting and change when a player's 34 to get them to actually
Douglas, 30 minutes into the second game, he fired a guy.
Harvey fired me. Harvey's gonna fire me in Masters. I was fired.
30 minutes into the game, the fella said, "Coach, I don't know if I understand what you want me to do." Your boy said, "All right, well, you sit right here. We'll do it for you after the game." Yeah.
Okay, when I come back.
Yeah.
I'll see when I come back.
Yeah.
And it's a responsibility. And let me tell you, I said it, and the one thing I appreciate is that, you know what I love about my brothers is that before we make anybody else accountable, we make ourselves. And we live to it, and we give. It was so hard to get success. It was so hard on ourselves because I'm never I don't know. It seems like I'm never happy. I win a game, and I'm never, because I want more. I want more because we don't have a lot of time sharing. You can't get time back.
Right.
You can't. So you want to get everything out. You want to learn everything and be the sponge and just really give it to the next person. And I don't sleep nights as a professional coach. This transition has been really interesting because I want to win. I want to win, but I want to play good football. Right. Yeah, I want to play. I want it to be an entertainment.
Yeah, and it's funny because I'm going to ask Herbie, because Herbie, when you were put in place as the national coach, you worked on a lot of stuff outside the game with the players because you understood that, as David has said, a happy player outside the game is a happy player inside the game. Take us through some of the things that you really worked hard on in making sure that the players understood they were appreciated as human beings before they became national team players.
Yeah, that was my first challenge because once I decided to take the job, I had a visit with Gennaro, and I talked to Gennaro because Gennaro was like a big influence as well, like myself. And I said, Gennaro, look, they got half the country and got half the country. We put us together, we could get some of the best players playing. But the most important thing is we need to get these guys to buy into not just what we want, but what they have to offer their families, their kids, and at the end of the day, themselves. Because that was the most important thing. So we have one-on-ones with the players, have a little wrap up from them, ask them what, some of the things that they want to do. But we just had to cultivate their minds a little bit and trying to tell them, like, you know what I mean? You guys are your first businessman. Like, you guys are you're your first coach. But at the end of the day, you got to showcase your family. Like, and I want to encourage you guys to get out there and play well, be good athletes. But I want you to trust me. I want you to trust me that I got you 100%. And I thought the importance of getting to understand your players, understand a lot of the things that they're going through, so you could appreciate them. Because remember that amateurs, they don't have to be there. And you got to make them feel like that at the end of the day, you got that back 100%. Like, and Gennaro was a big influence of me putting this team together. You know what I mean? Because he had a lot to offer. And with him having words with some of the players and getting them to buy into what we want, it was a little easier.
2019, you as a coach was successful with that team, advancing to the next round. But overall, I mean, you look at what you've been able to accomplish with, and I'm going to say this, with little bit of assistance. How do you compare the two when you say what you were able to do with, although it was domestic, with a team like Boulevard, with a team like St. George's, with a team like Bascome, as opposed to the national team in cricket?
Bascome was like a national team, and I coached for Boulevard and the club teams. It was pretty much working with the guys that want to play for the club. But it's nothing bad. I always want to work with the best players. And playing at the national level, like Bascome at the best players, so it's easy to go to. You just have to manage. And I find like that at the national squad, coaching to me is mostly done at the clubs. And it made it easier for me to coach the national squad because I felt like I had to just manage the players a little bit. not really coaching because they had the talent. So the key was managing them and getting them to bond together and get them to play together. And that was because you don't do too much coaching at the national level.
Right.
And I'm gonna be honest with you, my experience told the Chris Gale and Tanduka and these guys don't get too much coaching, man. The manager comes in, he manages them, they ask them, are they all right? You guys enjoying yourselves? How you feel today? Things that don't even relate to cricket. And when it comes around to trying to get these guys to perform, trying to I'll go to a player, so how you feeling today? You guys, what's your last game? It seemed like your follow through was good or your bat swing was quick enough. What you think about it? And then there are the things that we need to do to try to get the players to perform, because coaching at the national level is the hardest thing. You shouldn't have to do that. Me personally.
Right.
I feel you should pretty much structure a program to get the best players to perform. Because sometimes you could overcoach. And being at the national level, you got all the best players. It's about making them feel good. I'm a strong believer. If Gennaro Tucker's my best batsman in the country, and he likes apples, why bring in apples? If I make him happy, if I make him happy, he's gonna perform. Now, at club level is different because you want to develop the players. But once you get to the national level, if you're a national player, it's all about managing the player and helping his ins and outs or whatever he's going through,
Yeah. Juggler?
Question for you guys. I'm just thinking about, you're talking about managing players, especially, and in the amateur level and also the national level. But I'm thinking of players who have, in their heyday, we came out and watched it. So you guys were people that loved to see you play. Then you moved on into a coaching capacity. So for a lot of times, you have a built-in respect for the generation coming next because they've seen you guys perform. They loved how you played. They tried to emulate you. It was a little bit easy. A lot of coaches seem to have an easier time with those players. Now the next generation that didn't get to see you guys play, didn't know the exploits of David Bascome, don't know who Herbie is, didn't even know Herbie played. How is that now challenged? What's some of those challenges now to try to convince those type of new players coming through when you don't have the cachet which you would have had earlier?
Well, I find nowadays at this generation, modern technology, the way these guys are living the games, they could play this Xbox and this PlayStation and all this here, man. It's to me, I always trying to tell them, our social media was how we carried ourselves, how we respected people. You guys, social media is playing these little video games and all that. You're not really getting around with people, so you're not socially involved. I usually ask players okay, you guys are very close friends. And if I actually go to the shop and get him a drink, can you give him the drink that he likes? Because at the end of the day, you guys say you're close, but how close are you? Because back in the day, we grew our social life was how we network together. That was how we generated our energy. But in today's society, these kids, some of them, they think they know everything. Sometimes, and there's nothing wrong with that because this is the world they live in. No, we have to break this whole thing down to get these kids to buy into that you're not arrived. But at the end of the day, is that the people that's in charge has to start bringing the legends out there, letting these kids know, in the schools and the clubs. If you walk around clubs, you don't see, I used to like to go up Somerset and see George Bergman and these guys sitting around because all that's important. And sometimes we can't do that. But the people that's in charge of administrating and directing the game has got to start putting everybody in the forefront to start making these kids understand. The
people that have built the club.
Because it's unfortunate because we live in a small country. Geographically where we're situated, we can't get the benefits that other kids got. You got a kid in England, he's born with a window over his head, a window of opportunity. He could go down the park and see Messi. He go down the park and sit over and play ball. Messi could be with his kid over there, or Alex Ferguson or coach. They're not going to see that in Bermuda. But that's why we need to encourage our kids to have a better relationship with the former athletes, like the cricketers and the footballers or the track and field athletes. I mean, I said when I took over the national coach, I was up there coaching the national team, and the national rugby team was just next door to us on the other field. No relationship. I don't even know the national coach. Like even with the youth and sports, just start having forums like where all national coaches get together and we have a little power. We get to meet one another because we all could share knowledge. And it was hurting to know like that our national rugby team or our national football team don't know the cricketers or the cricketers don't know the football. Like this is your whole arena international in your country. All this should be shared amongst ourselves. I used to ask the people in youth and sport, do you have a picture of all your national coaches on one picture or all your national team? You know what I mean? I said, these things, we need to get closer because a coach for rugby or a coach for hockey or a coach for swimming and all that, they could share knowledge of us. We could share knowledge of them, but we have no relationship at the national level with our sports. These are the things that are very important. Like, you know what I mean? How come your national coach, soccer coach, don't have a good relationship with that? Has never met your national hockey coach or football coach, or these things. We need to come away from the fact that it's the face value type of thing,
right?
And give
Well, let me ask you, David.
God the opportunity.
Yeah, well, let me ask you, David, because you hear Herbie, and you're in the professional world right now when it comes to the major indoor soccer league. How much of that is actually relevant in the professional world of your league?
Oh, it's huge. And I'm going to jump on one thing my brother said is that we haven't programming and all this, like the programs and the development of it. But what it's saying, and one of the things I'm taking from it is that we have not done a good enough job of protecting, the legends in our country. And what has come out, and here's the outcome. The voices get lost. And that's very important, because if you protect the legacies by sharing, connecting through it with education, how many people think about it, right? If Andrew or Herbie is not involved into the game and staying current and owning their integrity, the conversation even looks different from a younger person, right? So now that's one of the things that has to change, and we have to start paying attention to that. We need to start protecting it. You can't get archive games. It's like we're just passing through, right? We're just participants of our development. We cannot be. We have to do more. So in the professional environment, the one thing that, let's take the Baltimore Blast, huge, 42 years plus been around. We honor our legends, your Hall of Famers. We have them come back. We got them involved. We embrace them. And it keeps their voice. So every Tuesday, I invite my legends to come to be a part of my training sessions. I invite the fans, because the younger players coming through must know. They must understand that who laid the paves, these paves before them. We could talk about a lot of things, but if we don't start doing it, look at the Clyde Basses. If we don't start doing it, it's not fair. Because you cannot build this beautiful game of and want to play in a direction. We don't have a social structure, an educational structure to build also culture and climate for good football. You know how Jamaica plays because it's embedded in their environment.
Yeah.
And if we don't, how do we play in Bermuda? This is my question. How do we play? But you got to embrace that. But you must feel, the house has to feel like it's yours. And I'm talking about the country, right? For you to want to do more, but we got to protect it. We just don't secure and protect the voices of the country. And it shows, like I was watching one of the other shows you had on, it was with the legends coming back, and I enjoy it. I love it. But wow, every time it pops up, what's securing it, right? How does a young Garrett Diaz telling the young lady Nia? I said, you know what it is? You only thing, right? And he says, no, I don't know. You only knew because his name was entitled in your show. It's these things, right? But ain't that something?
Yeah.
Look at the history. So that's what I'm at with it. The pros has got a whole different beast up here because the one thing is that if I find in the transition of and securing is you have to understand the new, we mentioned about the young players coming through, is that, understanding the culture of the 21st century today.
Right.
And do you know, when before I started really getting into and really embedding into my whole philosophy, and I really had to do some work and understand the education of where young people are and how the learning curve is. What's the social dynamic? What does it look like? What's the expectation? And then I had to build this whole methodology and structure, everything around it. And then I could build a timeline. I built the timeline based on the learning curve.
Okay.
So, so that's where it's at. But it's a whole thing. I mean, I really so much talent, and I know Herbert's probably seen it, and I know. But the one thing is that we must continue to empower the people that's got a distilled voice, because people get tired, They really get tired, and we gotta all just really understand what this means.
Yeah. Jay?
But
Herbie.
Like, I strongly feel like, Bermuda's got to get out of this thing about face value and just start valuing people for what they have to offer and what they have to bring to the plate. You know what I mean? Even with me, I enjoyed coaching at the national level. I enjoyed it, every bit of it. But then when you finish, when you're asked to be removed and they do something like send you a WhatsApp and say you're no longer coach, to me, that was embarrassing to me. What I done, or like, I'm not speaking of just myself, but they look at me in general. The guys worked hard to build that team. And we took Bermuda too hard. Like, that was our pride. Like, we was happy to be a part of the national program.
Right.
You come off a tour, I felt we done extremely well. You get a WhatsApp message from your cricket board and tell you you're no longer coach. You don't even call you into a meeting.
Wow.
And I just don't want this happen to another local coach. Because I feel like that we as Bermudans have a lot to offer ourselves. We've got some very intelligent athletes. Guys are very intelligent. They're just not been given the opportunity, because we believe in the foreign. But you got to remember, if you're gonna have an infrastructure for amateurs, then to bring a foreign coach here, you're just wasting money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense, because they're only gonna get you to the level that we local coach could get you. You put an infrastructure in place. I always said when I was coaching, I wouldn't have a problem with having not a top level coach, but that's in reality, we got to realize that can we get to that level with the structure program that we got?
Yeah. I think a lot of people take what we consider constructive criticism as a personal attack, and that's one of the things we need to get over right away. I mean, even what I do, people want to give me advice, and yeah, sometimes, most of the time I listen to it. I take what I think is face value and what is good, and the rest I put to the side. But I know I'm never going to be perfect in what I do. I know I'm going to make mistakes, but it's one of the things where I think a lot of people, when you say how you handle it, and Herbie, I'll use that same scenario. How is an organization going to hire you in an interview, but get rid of you in a WhatsApp message?
See, that's just the things they couldn't digest. But then it comes on to face value.
Yeah,
they look at you, see you are. They're not too concerned about what you have to offer.
One can never be justified in the way that was done, and So Jay, what's your thoughts?
That situation is just crazy in a nutshell. But to say this, and I think we've all had these conversations, especially, and heard these conversations around the islands when we're asking for our young athletes to have pride, national pride in our programs, national feeling of purpose, playing for our national side, even as amateurs. It's sort of hard. I'll use from my experience first. growing up, Earl, and I think you was in the well, you're a lot older than me, but growing up,
why you keep you keep throwing that dagger, boss? You keep throwing that
growing
dagger.
up, and you go to the first game up at the Carpet, right? They used to hand out those programs, booklets, the beginning of the season. And in that booklet, you see all the winners, all the teams of the past year.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You'll see stats, you'll see trophies, you'll see even cover stories, you'll see even stories. Same thing with cricket. The late Tommy Atchison used to have the magazines for cricket season. So you'll see the last year's winners, you'll see the teams, you'll see the touring teams, you'll see the stories, you'll see this year, this week they're focusing this month they're focusing on Noel Gibbons. So coming up, you know, it got you going, especially now. Take for instance now, that player played for your club, or you knew that player, or you cleaned up beds, or you cleaned up boots. Like you felt that connection, even though it was not your company, as we would say back then. But you felt that, right? Fast forward to today, and Earl, we've had this conversation. We still don't have a facility that can actually show our national teams on the wall.
No.
We've heard talks, but once again, like you said, Herbie, you going to St. George's or even going to Somerset. I'm pretty sure some other clubs may have it, but just to see past presence, old pictures, old teams. Oh, that's my uncle. Oh, that's my uncle's uncle. Or, you know, you get some type of. But when we don't have that for our own national program, where are we trying to get our boys after hearing stories of Herbie?
Listen, Jay, I hear you, and I agree 100%. But realistically, as a country, we're not that dedicated to sport, and that's the honest truth. We're not.
And for me, Herbie, and that's why I'm bad for because David sees it on that. You know, he gets the support. If he needs to call up some legends, like you said, he can get them to come. No, we got people say, you know what, I don't want to be a part of that situation down there, or you know, they're so fed up in certain things. So Herbie, I mean, you're always a person always trying to bring people back, bring people into the fold, and have this one common thought going forward, because we have to learn our lessons from yesterday. But going forward, how do we tie? You know, how we bring these people together? Because national pride is everything, not just national pride, but also for your family. You mentioned it earlier, playing for your family. How do we instill that into our youngsters?
Yeah. Well, Herbie and David, basically what Leonard Davis is saying is what you guys are saying. Clubs should have an ex-players day at one of their home games, provide a tent where junior and senior players could engage in conversation, especially with those ex-players, and then they get to know, you know, that is basically what you guys have been, you know, discussing the last few minutes on making sure that the legends of these clubs are recognized for what they've. Because if you look at it, okay, so right now, and I'm pretty sure I'll say this about Herbie. People probably 30 and under would have never known you even played for Boulevard, Herbie.
Right.
They would know that you were the St. George's Cricket Club Cup match captain and the national team coach. They wouldn't even know that you actually played for North Village. And I said Boulevard because that was probably your last team that you played for on the field. But we don't harness that, you know what I mean, to build that relationship on even. I mean, you talked about the deals in North Village. You can go and watch a North Village game and you'll see the deals sprinkled around the field. But how many people are like nestling underneath them to find out what that passion, drive, built that club, helped to build that club, you know, with others is about? I mean, if you look at it, Herbie, you, David, and Andrew helped to build North Village. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, we definitely continued to do it once we got at a certain age, we was able to continue what we learned from the village legends. You know what I mean? And I could agree. I mean, I look at it even from what you're saying. When I started my campaign as a national coach, what's the first thing I done? I called Ricardo Powell, asked him, can he come down? And went and said, look, my first training session, my first meeting with the players, Ricardo Powell spoke to try to motivate the players, and I just want to get the players, to drive and be motivated by this, like by Ricardo, who's a professional that player for the West Indies. These are the things we need to do. Call Colin Blades out to a training session, asked him to come meet the players, I'm aware of the players, that the 1979 national team invited them up to the conference, and Ricardo came, and they mingled with the players, and from that day, I knew he was going to be successful. I knew he was going to come out of that group and go to Dubai. I knew that because he started off right, and the players appreciated it.
Right. Well, you done it in one way. Your brother done it another way. Chef Boyardee. I have to say this, David. I've never seen a professional coach go out of his way, AJ, to make sure that after a training session, his players are fed. And when I say fed, he does the cooking. He literally does the cooking, and he makes sure his players are fed. And I think
stop.
Huh? Stop.
Hold on.
Am I telling a lie?
No. I know what Jay's about to say. See, I know what he's about to say.
Jay, go ahead, Jay.
Nah, that one opportunity I was able to go to Baltimore. All the players were made mandatory to come to a spot where they got fed.
Yes.
And they had to mingle for what? At least an hour. I think there was a time limit.
Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. So where did this all go wrong? From going to this place to go get fed by David?
When you went, he was the assistant coach.
So let me explain. Okay. Let me explain. It's easy to have the food catered, right? We go to Jimmy Seafood. We go to places. It's easy. But and this is the one thing I'm gonna say, we can have, because it's going to transition back and forth. We can have all the events in Bermuda around legends and bonding until we understand the importance of the game, how it affects our community, how can really be effective with molding young players through education, business, and our social. As a professional coach, to build the culture, you have to be aware of these things. I know the importance of breaking bread. I know the importance of it. So I cook for them every Wednesday or Thursday. And it's important and they love it. I make tea, ginger, honey, brown sugar, lemon, and garlic. Because I want to make sure they understand is that we move together, and that's building the culture. That's got to do with my way of playing, because they got to trust me. If they trust that I'm cooking for them, they're going to trust me on the field. It's a part of my belief and my methodology and what I'm trying to do. Every pass bonds you. So, and I need that. I need to learn how to cook because my father's a chef. I don't have a choice, and it better taste good. So COVID, I decided when I was coming back to Bermuda to learn the recipes from my father, to learn how to, because I wanted to make sure that it was important. And I'm talking about, I got a reserve team today for 34 people. I made them, some fish soup, and like I go deep. I got pots, I got everything, and it's nothing, but they don't owe me nothing for it. I'm not doing it for you to play better. I'm doing it for you to understand is that this is a part of the culture that I'm gonna build. We break bread together because guess what happens? They stay longer. They breathe a little bit longer. They start to have communication, and then but that's a part of part of the culture. But to going back to what we're saying about how do we fix some things is that we must know the importance of sports. You must know the importance of sports, because how in this time is that we don't have the connection and the strength that's built between education, social development, and sports. It does not make sense to me. It doesn't. I love my country, but why is it still divided? It don't make sense with the ministries. They haven't figured this out by now. Been saying this for about 20 plus years, and that we feel it's okay. That's the problem, It's acceptance, but you have to be able to ask the right questions, not when a problem occurs. This is where I'm at with it. So in my professional environment, it's important that I understand the importance of that. I understand the importance of community and hard bonds with. That's why I do work with my players outside the game. I understand the importance of business. That's why I make sure is that when the end of the day, my players have a career outside the game. I understand the importance of building a culture, that's got to be educated. That's why I said, you know what, I got to make sure is that I'm teaching them the theory, the practical, so all these things, all these facets come together. If I don't understand education, I would never understand the Fortune 500 because they're the ones who's building these jobs today. And sportsmen, they have to know this. They have to know, because what justice am I doing for them but just coaching them on the field and expect them to do what? Give their all? The easy part is getting players to go out there and play for a paycheck. I don't want it to be a job. I want it to be a career. My job as a professional coach is they're not going to be great on their own. No way. A player's going to be great on his own. But I have to be able to see the things that they're weak at. And they trust me enough to harness it and develop it. And I tell them, you're not going to be great on your own. Try it and see if it happens. But I have to know also my place and respect. Because once they start trusting you, we're giving them that voice and they're giving us the voice.
Sure.
But I cook a meal. I cook a meal.
Yeah. And I'm going to transition into that. Herbie, you have the name of what one would consider in this island the best chef around. Having Herbie Sr. as your father, what does that mean for you as not just an athlete, but knowing that this man, what he's done for this country, what does that mean for you? Being his son.
One is that I got the best father on earth. I mean, what I love about my father and how he carried himself in, and I could tell by the respect that a lot of people give him. And my father's my general, and I admire him, and I want to thank him for all what he's done for me and allowed me the freedom to go out there and have the confidence to achieve what I can achieve. And it's a beautiful feeling to have a father like I have.
And young David, I mean, I know, the relationship you guys have, all of you have with your father, but being you're the young buck, what does that mean for you?
It means a lot, and what even like my relationship with my father is like, he's my buddy, it's my buddy. Yeah, we just, and to spend, like we say, the time is so important. And I'll tell you what, and since I learning from him how to cook, it's just so much. And the one thing he told me, you must put love in the kitchen. You must put love in the kitchen. Do you know that everything I make from scratch, everything, because I make time for it, because I know the importance when, I'm making even my little guys some macaroni and cheese, and and he tells me, Daddy, I love it, or it's eating, soup, and that's huge. And when my father is here, the connection and everything, so football was us and cooking is him, and to watch him just sit and have this passion for what he does. And I'm embracing this. I mean, I'm looking up, never thought I'd be looking at like cooking shows and like finding ways to kind of but even this, my father came up and I made some breakfast for him one morning. I said, don't move, I got you. And you know how nervous I was? And then when he had me working on this fish chowder, right? And I'm making this fish chowder, and I'm like, hold up, I can't even. So I made it, threw it away. And he's in Bermuda, and he's looking. I said, Dave, you got to look at this. He says, nope, not it. And I'm like, you don't taste it. You don't. I said, no, it's not got the color. Do you know I threw it away? I threw it. I was so like, I said, it's not right. So I did not call him back on my second try because it just didn't taste good. It took me 5 tries. But it's just that same thing, right? Perfection needs your attention. And like I tell my players, winning is no accident. Doing things the right way and looking for those results, it's no accident. You must put the time into it. And that's what I learned from him. And let me tell him, I'm still waiting for him to come back. He needs to hurry up and come back. I got run another recipe.
You're running short of recipes? Juggler? I mean, we know what Herbie Sr. means to this country. He's fought many battles, you know, in the labor movement, and what he's been able to do in guiding these guys through life. And as Herbie Jr. has already said, you know, it hasn't been easy. However, your thoughts on Herbie Sr.?
Well, not just his, but the true essence of a man is his legacy, his family, right? And you see amongst just this conversation alone, right? It's appreciation, but the selflessness, right? Always willing to pass on. That's been the common theme for tonight, right? Is you know, pay it forward, right? Always giving, and you can see where it comes from. You know, having those conversations with Herbie Sr., you could see, you know, whether it's directly or indirectly, you can see it's been passed down. You know, and that's the thing about legacy is like, you know, when you find out what your purpose is and you pay it forward. No, you know, for most people, it's a bigger joy knowing that the next person is taking what the information you gave them to the next level, right? I'm pretty sure David now, watching his little son now, maybe doing some things that he never could do at that age, right? And he started to wonder, okay, what would it be, you know, as a father, what would it be 10 years from now with the knowledge I give him? What would it be? And I'm pretty sure we all go through that as young men. It's amazing that we're talking that bond between a father and son. And I think it's such a refreshing story to hear these Bascomes because of the fact that we know we're missing so much of that in our family unit in Bermuda with our young Black boys, right? They don't have these male figures in their life to get this information from at an early point of their life, to give them some stability, to give them a rule, to give them purpose. And I think that's one of the major problems we do have with our young Black boys, because when they don't find that person where it gives them that appreciation, because sometimes they just want to be appreciated. They just want to be appreciated.
Or even acknowledged.
Or David, like David just said, some attention. You know, you have to give them attention. If you don't give them attention, then you just threw them out. And hear the Bascome to always know that they can always lean on the next shoulder. Right? I'm pretty sure, David, there's been many times where it's not been bright. And I might need to call on her. I might need to call on David. I might need to call on somebody or your dad, right? And I think that is what I'm getting from this conversation is that I'm glad that you guys are not only living it, but you're also passing it on, and you're also trying to help the next person.
Juggler, I want to thank you as well as David and Herbie for joining us this evening. I mean, we've covered a lot, but still there's a lot to cover. We could be on here for probably 6 or 7 hours, Herbie, talking about taking us down the road on a journey that still has a lot of legs to go. I know you guys, you know, you love sport, you love doing what you're doing, and I know for a fact that it's not going to end anytime soon. You know, I really want to thank you guys for joining me tonight and joining Juggler as well. And you know, excellent as Levette has said, you know, having the opportunity to hear from living legends is what this country needs, because our youngsters need to hear from you guys of you know the trailblazing journeys that you guys have been on, and understanding that the road hasn't been easy. However, look where we come to. You know, I've got a professional coach up in one corner. I've got a former national team coach and a cup match captain in another corner. I've got a wicket keep down in the other corner. You know, so hey,
take him, man.
What's that?
Yeah, go ahead. Take him. Anything comes through slips, take him.
Herbie, you were in the slips with Juggler? Were you in the slips with Juggler? I mean, this is one of those things. Juggler, give me the gloves. You go stand the second slip.
Yeah. Well, sports has been great to me, and I want to thank the country for supporting me during my career as an athlete. I mean, there's only one trophy that I've never won in this country, and that's Bascome because I was never able to play. Wasn't eligible to play, but as far as cricket and football, I pretty much dominated one it all.
Hey, but
I like the coach.
Willicott might take it. That's what I'm saying. Hold on.
I don't know if I can make it.
Let's go start on the fusion.
But
are you coming over 3 paces now?
Yeah. Sports treated me real good in this country, and I met a lot of good people and kept me friendly with myself. So I really appreciate the support that I had from the country when it came around to playing sports. And I want to encourage all the youngsters, you know what I mean, to try to just encourage your drive, you know, to try to get out there and look to do well. But I have to encourage your clubs as well. We've got to remember, we're living in some trying times, and you know, we've got a lot of these kids that look at sports as an avenue to balance their life out. But it's unfortunate we look at sports as a recreation, because when you're looking at trying to play sports and train all week, there's some valuable time that you could, you know, have when it comes down to getting another job or even making your bills or meeting your ends meet.
Yeah.
This is what we've got to consider. So you got to, like David said earlier, you got to value people's time, you know. And we got to, you know, the people that's managing clubs need to understand is that your product is most important, and not the alcohol. Your product is your athletes. So you got to start surrounding things around. I mean, it looks like a gamble, but it's not, because if you raise the quality of your product, then people will come out to watch.
Definitely.
It sounds like a gamble, but that's the best thing to do. If you take these players and you make them that much better, people will come to watch.
Definitely. I have to agree 100%. David, you're 1 point out of first place in the Eastern Conference for the major arena soccer league. We want to encourage you to keep your players focused and hopefully be able to bring Baltimore another championship. I know it's a working in progress, but just listening to what Herbie had to say, what would you end with?
Yeah, I'm gonna just say something that it's one of the biggest tools I give to my players in my whole mindset of my journey. Everything in life is about movement. If you're playing a sport or not, and as long as you understand is that you must move with purpose, you must move with direction, you must move with thought, and you must move with conviction. And it's very important we understand that, because you're moving mentally or physically. And everything that we do, we are responsible for our own outcome. We are responsible for our own outcome. And that's all I want to share. And it's very important. And also is that, like Herbie said, is that I appreciate that everybody in Bermuda, I walk with Bermuda proud. And I appreciate the support that they're giving me and continued support. And it's those times is that I think is that the time to continue to make our voice stronger and stronger and talk louder and louder until we help support in what the outcomes should look like. You know, so I'm looking forward just the continued journey with myself and also the country. And I wish everybody the best. And the one thing I want to also say thank you to a lot of the parents out there that's put that time, that done really well on helping the Bermuda sports and some of these athletes, because they put so much commitment behind, if it's financially or time. So I want to say thank you to them as well, because a lot of young men and young women that's out, if it's swimming, if it's baseball, soccer, football, whichever it is, you know, so So, I just want to show them some love because it's important, because I really put some time into it, moving the young people.
Definitely. Well, Juggler, I had these Bascoms on for over 2 hours now, and I'm pretty sure we can go on for a lot more, but time to let them go.
Yeah, it's a minute.
Thank you very much.
Herbie, Herbie, David, thank you guys very much for joining us tonight. I honestly believe that the country is a lot better knowing you guys' story from tonight, and will be able to grow and help others along the way. We got one more message. Don't give up. Yeah. Keep focused. Yes. Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. Enjoy your night.
All right.
One love.